Welcome to the Payoff Podcast, brought to you by Quantrax. This is a show for debt recovery leaders who know the industry is changing, even if the conversations around them are not. Many collection operators are stuck doing what they've always done, uncertain how to move forward and wary of the unknown, especially when it comes to technology. This podcast will help you see things differently. Here we explore practical strategies, smarter systems, and leadership choices that help you move past the familiar, step into new opportunities, and actually improve performance. Each episode features real-world insights from operators and executives who have faced the same challenges, experimented, and discovered what truly pays off. No hype, no recycled talking points. Just thoughtful, actionable conversations about growth, technology, and leadership in today's receivables environment. This is the Payoff Podcast, not the same old conversation. Today we are joined by Steve Roberto, a collections industry veteran who with more than 40 years experience. Starting out as a collector at 18 years old, Steve worked his way up to becoming Chief Operating Officer of General Revenue Corporation. He later co-founded Key to Recovery, a collections agency with more than 50 collectors that he ran for 15 years, serving the educational debt sector. Steve has achieved success with a comprehensive cradle-to-grave approach to collections, grounded in establishing empathy and trust with debtors. Amid tightening labor markets and competitive pressures, we wanted to get Steve's take on maintaining profitability and adopting modern strategies, and how he strikes that delicate balance between automation and the human touch. Welcome, Steve. It's great to have you on the podcast.
Glad to be here.
So just to start, can you walk us through this cradle-to-grave approach that you have championed? What is it, and how did it help your agency succeed?
Well, I've played with many collection approaches in my career, group environments, environments where you send the call to a closer out of a group environment. And cradle-to-grave has some unique qualities. Cradle-to-grave involves primarily ownership of accounts by an agent. You assign them a group of accounts, and then your strategies are all around managing that inventory, having them manage that inventory. And really, from a productivity standpoint, it allows for each of the accounts in their queue to be treated equally, and for them to get a good, fair assessment, whether it has a good home phone or a cell phone or no phones, and it has a good address or a bad address. You can control the inventory to how you want them to spend their day, how much time you want them to spend in each of those categories. But really, that's all about control, managerial control. The true advantage to a cradle-to-grave environment is the ownership of the account while the account's in their queue, and to be able to directly bonus or commission a collector based upon their own efforts on those accounts that you've assigned to them. Sometimes in, say, a group environment, it's difficult to determine who's collecting the money in that group environment. And the common complaints is, hey, I'm collecting more money than everybody else, and everybody's getting paid the same thing or close to the same thing based upon the incentives. So the incentives is a big part of it from the collector standpoint, but really that inventory control and the familiarity of the debtor with the collector. You know, if they skip trace them, they learn a lot about that person. They learn about where they work, what they do, whether they're married, not married, maybe whether they have children, learn about their expenses, so that when they do get them on the phone, they're very prepared to negotiate some form of settlement with them.
Really strikes that strong relationship that helps them walk through and actually encourages them to pay the debt, I suppose.
It sets everything up to develop that rapport right from the very first phone call, and to get straight to negotiation and developing some communication and trust, and try and come up with a great solution.
I know a wave of mergers and acquisitions are happening in the collections industry. How are you seeing consolidation trends influence agency strategies and operations?
Well, I think that, it's gone on in ebbs and flows for years. And I think that everybody is looking to gain something through acquisition. Everybody's looking to either enter into a particular market segment, or to gain strength in numbers, or to gain some technical advantage by acquiring technology along with another agency. But I think the deals that I am familiar with, they're all very unique. I don't think they really group up or get categorized in any way, shape, or form. It seems on the surface that, some are definitely driving for bigger is better. And there is some strength and efficiencies in numbers in this industry. And, but I don't think that's the driving factor. I think that the biggest driving factor for the ones I've been intimately involved in is to reach in to gain some segment of a particular market.
How do you see AI-enabled automation technologies changing the way agencies manage collections beyond just operational efficiencies?
Well, I think that the AI technologies that I've been exposed to, they're really slick, they're really smart, they're really well thought out. There's a lot of things that I think this industry is just touching on in terms of AI being brought into the solution. I think that one of the biggest problems is that ownership in this industry is very slow to adopt new technology. That's not new. I've seen that for my entire career. When I started in this business, everything was on paper. There was no computerization involved at all. People hand wrote notes on the back of a index card. But I think that it could be a huge differentiator at this point. The people that quickly adopt new technologies, that are able to look for savings, particularly in personnel costs, through using customer service portals or some conversational AI bot that's able to handle phone calls. I think that the strength in that alone is pretty obvious when you investigate any of these technologies. And the biggest cost that we have in this industry is personnel. So if you can save jobs, eliminate jobs, and add AI even to support the jobs that you have and allow people to make more money, collectors to make more money, management, everyone to make more money in the whole process, then I think that that really becomes the challenge.
What are some of the biggest challenges that debt collection agencies face when balancing the tech-driven automation AI while keeping that important human interaction?
Well, I think that the human interaction is really the issue. My background is in educational receivables, and it's a very young set of debtor group, and they don't like to talk on the phone. And so being able to recognize that and drive them towards self-service customer service portals where they can service their own account, whether that's to provide information, to dispute their account, to set up a payment arrangement, to be able to work out a settlement. All those things become more important because you'll have people that just will refuse to answer a phone call from you and will refuse to even speak to you. In the last couple of years, we've had people that we've gotten on the phone. They've hung up on us in mid-conversation, and within minutes go out to our customer service portal, self-service their account, and set up a payment plan on that very same account. Why they didn't want to do that when they had our collector on the phone is a little bit mystifying to me, but I think it's definitely a generational thing. They just don't feel comfortable speaking to people on the phone, and I think that self-service portals with AI support is definitely the future for the younger generation.
How do you think that works with your cradle-to-grave approach, with the ownership of the account being with one person? How does automation kind of help that still work in kind of the same way, or have the same incentives?
Well, it falls back to, first of all, the overall management of that inventory. If we can send a letter or a text or an email or leave a message for somebody providing the information where they can go self-service their accounts, the best scenario would be to make one contact attempt, have someone respond to that, go out to the AI agent or to a portal and pay their debt off in full. And in the cradle-to-grave, collector never sees that account. And those accounts obviously are very profitable for a business because you're not paying a bonus or a commission on those monies that are collected. It's all house money. So
right.
It's, again, another area where AI support, I think, is going to make a big play in this industry. There are people in this industry who are not making any outbound telephone calls and doing the things that I mentioned to generate contact. And they will accept an inbound telephone call, but they're really trying to drive all that information, all those people to go to their website and self-service their account.
You mentioned the resistance to adopting new technology that is common in the industry. How do you think that's impacting competitiveness? How do you see that playing out in the industry?
Well, what I've seen over the years is I think that's what will drive some agencies out of business or make them very cheap to acquire, because they sometimes, once you get so far behind, it's very, very difficult to catch up without major investment and major change. So, some of that is dependent upon your software provider. If your software provider is industry savvy and they're ahead of that curve and they're making solutions available to you before, you have to go out and invent the solution yourself, that helps to drive that, I think, quite a bit. But if you're trying to develop solutions all in-house, it becomes very difficult without the right staff to be able to do that. And I have seen over the years a lot of agencies kind of wither on the vine just because they didn't want to make the investment to stay compliant, or they just thought it was all way too much to develop the tools to become compliant, and that it was going to cost too much, and a lot of excuse making. But at the end of the day, if you're not staying fresh year to year in this industry, it could eat you. I mean, there are a lot of impacts that make it difficult to do business, and you've got to stay on top of those.
Offshore and nearshore operations are always a bit of a hot button topic. What roles do you see them playing in controlling costs and maintaining service quality and competitiveness in today's labor market?
I think it's huge. I had a nearshore operation for the last 8 years, and the thing that I noticed immediately is that visiting and interviewing to hire our first group of people is compared to hiring in the Midwest. It was amazing to me how outgoing people were about getting a career, about starting a career, about willingness to learn and be trained, and the commitment that people made to just developing a career in a location that really didn't offer long-term careers. 10, 12 years ago, that became very, very difficult, very, very expensive to hire and train people in my market. And so to find a solution where obviously the hourly expenses for the employee is much, much, much cheaper, and can definitely create a great deal of profitability if it's done right. And it, I think, has got to be part of everybody's solution going forward, until, again, it's a balance between where do you need human intervention? Can you develop high quality skill in an offshore or nearshore operation? What's your oversight of that operation going to be? How tethered are you going to be to that operation? I think that it's a mistake to fire one up and not be personally involved, and not get to know every person that's involved in that operation, and train trainers that are able to be experts, subject matter experts at that site. And it needs to be viewed, I think, really as another room in your headquarters office. If you have to view them as the other right down the hall. And that's how I think treating people that way in that environment, it's been very successful and very rewarding.
I mean, as you know, a lot of agency leaders are navigating digital transformation while managing profit pressures and workforce changes. What advice would you give them for balancing all of those and trying to navigate the digital changes that are necessary?
I think that it's all about really people seeing fit, within their organization. These organizations sometimes can become very, very complex. I was involved many years ago in the painstaking practice of developing documented SOPs, standard operating procedures, for absolutely everything in the operation. And the biggest realization is, wow, we've really kind of created a monster here. This thing, we've made it difficult to do business within our business. Interdepartmental cooperation was laborious at best. And I think that there is an opportunity here with some of the the digital tools that are being made available to all business, particularly this business, there's an opportunity to maybe simplify things and focus and concentrate on what you do best. In Key to Recovery, the company that we started 15 years ago, we decided that we needed to be collectors. That's what we did. We collect money. So from the very beginning and start of that operation, having opportunity to start with a clean slate of paper, we did things. For example, we didn't really employ anybody. We went through a professional employment organization, which in Ohio is available to people, and it becomes your HR department. They do all your benefits. They do all your payroll. They do all your time clock stuff. So we weren't in the HR business. We went to our software provider and became the first hosted agency for that company. And that put us out of the IT business. We didn't have to go out and buy hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of hardware. We didn't have to have high-priced IT specialists and programmers on staff to be able to manage our infrastructure. So again, I think that there's an opportunity in what is becoming available to all businesses and businesses in this industry is get back to focusing on, what do? You collect money. You need to invest everything you possibly can into concentrating on collecting money and making your business profitable, and not be in the IT business, not be in the HR business, and some of these other internal support services that you think are really, really important that you need to have in your business. So big part of our success at Key to Recovery.
Great insight, Steve. Thank you so much for joining us today. That's it for today's episode of the Payoff Podcast. Thanks again to our sponsor, Quantrax, creators of the RMX debt recovery management platform. Find out what you might be missing in debt collection software. Learn more at Quantrax.com.